To go back to the interviewing question, I think if for people who like want to interview or like anything I've learned about it, there's a really great podcast that's about interviewing interviewers about interviewing.
Oh, cool.
And Terry Gross was on it, and like she prepares a ton and like goes through the books and has like, you know, so much preparation. And then Larry King would never, like, he classically, it's like, I think it's a very well-known thing, but like he wouldn't read the book before he interviewed people. He went the opposite way. Mm-hmm. And I think if that's a spectrum, like coming to it somewhat in the middle is probably best. But I think it's going to vary to whoever you're speaking to, because like
totally.
If I'm speaking to you, like my preparation, and that's the other thing. I really, and I think it says this in the Let It Out description that I wrote 100 years ago, but it's talking to friends and strangers. And when I'm talking to someone I've never met before, that's going to be a very different conversation than if I'm having you on, or if I'm having Christine on, and I like both of them. I think when I'm talking to you or Christine or one of our friends that I know well in this context, we like right now, even like we might not be having this gone to this direction of the conversation if we were just at dinner right now. We might have been talking about, you know, whatever. And so I like that I'm able to ask whatever I'm curious about, and I'm able to direct the comment. You have a lot of power when you're interviewing because you're in charge of where, and I'm kind of aware of that. Like, I don't know if power is the right word, but I'm aware of like, and sometimes I just say this, like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed with all the things I want. I could go in so many directions right now. I'm going to go in this one, but then I'm killing a darling of like, you only have, you're going against the clock too. Like mine are very long, which is not shocking. But you're running against the clock of like how much time you have with a person. Like a couple of years ago, I interviewed Joshua Jackson, and sometimes I get these like PR emails that I grew up watching Dawson's Creek, and I was like, oh my God, here I am on Zoom with this person, and I only have a set amount of their time. And sometimes I don't know, like, and now I maybe should say, like, do you have a hard stop? Because I would just sort of like keep going until they are like, hey, and this is what happened in that one. He was like, hey, my baby's waking up. Like, we gotta wrap this up. And then that sucks, because then I had like my good questions that so anyway, you're sort of going against the clock where you have to make choices depending on how long. Some people will give shorter answers, but some people might take 20 minutes with one question, and then you didn't get to ask the one you wanted because they were, so you have to sort of prioritize. And so I'm not as present in those conversations as I am in off the record, unrecorded ones, because I'm constantly, the way I do my notes is I have those check boxes where it crosses them out. And so I'm constantly like moving things up and down, copying, pasting. And I usually keep a notepad by me too when I'm doing it in person to write things down, because sometimes I'll like think about something really quick. This happened actually to us where I'm not making eye contact as much as I would because I'm like, I'm not present. Like I am, but I'm like, I'm going to be more present when I'm editing, because I'm in my head being like, oh, she said that, I got to ask that, because I'm thinking about you, not you.
You're like making it flow and make sense. And you're orchestrating this thing.
I'm editing in my head.
Exactly. In real time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm knowing that and often I'm crossing out. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't need to ask that, 'cause she covered that here. Like, that was fine. Like, we don't need to go there. But you have to do that very quickly. And that's why I love it, because you're very present. Like, or not, I just, like, I'm saying the opposite. But I'm focused. Like, I can't be thinking about, I might not be present in the same way as I am in a conversation not recorded, but I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do later or what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm there in
You're
my
tapped
like
in.
I'm working.
Turned on.
Yeah, and that just feels
tuned in.
I'm in the vortex.
Yeah.
It feels really, and that feels so good. Like, so when I don't do them for a while, and I've been so much more and that's the other thing. Maybe that's my problem this year, but I've been more inconsistent with the podcast this year than ever before, because to be honest, and this goes back to like the deadline thing, I had ads like since not when I started, but since 2016, I had ads really consistently. And then I stopped. Like it wasn't as frequent and anyway. And so it kind of became a more, I didn't have that external deadline. And when I'm hanging out and doing things in LA and not like I'm bopping around and doing my 18 other jobs to make money instead of the ads,
Right.
then it's sort of the first thing to go. And then when I fell, it became heavy on the cast pod, and that it felt good to like, and I remember being so, and you saw me at my like very, very worst with that. Cause I walk a lot and it was just, I think an injury that changes your life, like you can't do things you normally do is very tough emotionally.
Yeah.
And that took me a while. And then I remember when I was kind of settling into like, all right, this is what happened. This is what I'm doing. Like, how can I try to make this do the best I can here? Once it took me a minute, as you saw, but Maddie came over. I was like not answering my phone. I was like so depressed. I was so like anxious about 8 million things. And Maddie just came over with I will never eat a peanut butter banana sandwich ever again in my life and not think about that day.
Oh,
and
you actually ate it?
I ate it immediately.
Okay, good. I was like, I came over and I was like, Katie, you need to eat. I was like,
no, I was that was rough that day.
But like, it's also so nice being able to be that vulnerable with a friend. Yeah. And like, I would never judge you. Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel like we were becoming closer friends last year. Like around the time we did the podcast, I did feel close to you much more so than like whatever. I'm explaining like friendship takes time, but you want to know what expedites it? Intimacy is like seeing someone letting yourself be seen at your worst.
Yes.
And then you're suddenly like, oh my God, they didn't run away and I'm able to connect because then I was not wearing masks to be liked. And I was just like, and it's really scary. Like I felt very anxious that day.
I know.
Like, I didn't want to be seen like that. But I was forced to. And then it makes me feel so grateful and like my nervous system and like the attachment and the anxiety is like dissipates when you can connect with, and also I'm like, I want to see all of the angles of that for my friends, like see them on their best days and their worst days.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel closer to you. It makes me feel like I know you more, and it makes me feel like I can be more undone as well. And I think friendship's interesting with that because usually it's only our family or our like romantic partners who see us that way. But I think I was in a space where I didn't have either of those things close to me in this time where I needed a lot of help and a lot of and then I can't even really talk about it. I'm gonna cry. It really showed me. I learned a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like really tender.
Yeah.
Because why am I crying? I just know that was like such a like scary time for you.
I love you.
Why am I crying? I'm not even going to start my period.
So nice.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was. It is. Like, it was. I think we're meant to help each other and to see that you were there for me in that time that I really, really needed it. Like, I don't even have the words. Like, I'm not really saying anything right now.
Yeah.
But because I can't really explain it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through stuff too, and you've seen me go through stuff, or I've cried in front of you before. It's like, yeah, it's just really special, like, to be able to let it out,
be seen.
Yes, exactly.
be observed.
It's scary because it's so vulnerable. But yeah, I know that was like a really scary, hard time for you, and yeah.
I think it's also like it on the other side of it, like picking up the phone when you've been going through it, or like I remember once I was like at the dentist and you were going through it and I picked up the phone and talked to you.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah.
See, I desperately needed to speak. Okay, I was going through a really tough time like 2 years ago or whatever, and I was calling everyone I could think of and no one picked up, but you did. And that meant a lot to me. And I think that was like a big point in our friendship too. Because it's just like that. It's taking it to the next level. It's like, oh shit, this person really is here for me. And like my times of need or my worst parts, you know?
Yes. And what I was going to say about it is like, that made me feel, that helped me. Like I hope I was helpful to you, and
of course it meant so much.
But it wasn't altruistic. Like it helped me to be, whenever I can help somebody or whenever I can like not be withholding, or I rather err on the side of overgiving, because I don't know why. I think because it feeds up. Like I think we're meant to connect, and like it's connection, I guess. It's like I knew I've been there, and people have picked up for me.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who so needs a sounding board for things and to talk out things. And you've said the thing at the right time, where I've sent, like I remember there was another thing where you were talking out something, and I was more distanced from it than you, and we would just like send voice texts back and forth for like a week about it. And I remember being like on the edge of my seat for the rest of the story, and how I could use my neutrality of seeing it from like above to be like, okay, no, this, because that's what we can't do for ourselves. We're too close, whether not even a creative project, but often like a situation where another relationship or whatever, to be able to say like, and I think that's like, I don't know if that's like another reason of why that time for me was so hard, but I think it was, I was in like a real, I wasn't really like myself. I was thinking about this last night because one of my friends, a new friend, I haven't even told you about this, but a new friend went to the hospital. He's okay.
Okay.
But we were texting earlier in the morning and whatever, and then he's like, I had a real weird twist in my day. I'll tell you about it later. And I was like, oh, I hope it was a good twist. And he was like, you know, I'm in the emergency room and I've been here since 10. I was like, what? Like, are you okay? Do you need anything? And he was like, I haven't eaten anything all day. And I was working. And then I was like, oh my God, no one's brought you food. Like, I'm coming. And I think there are people who would be like, wait, you went at 11 p.m. to the hospital and like brought this person you met like a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I did. Because, and I remember like last night I'm in my little car and I'm not saying this because I'm like, again, it's not altruistic. It was like, this is something I can't do that. I don't have that many skills or like that many ways to help people, but like, I know snacks. If I know anything, I know snacks. And I knew it. I knew enough about what he liked. He told me a couple things. It was like a fun little, what else was I doing? What was I going to do? Go home and listen to a podcast? You know what I mean? Like I could just go and.
You're like, oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And the other thing is like, also like even the person I had like the complex relationship with like helped me and showed up for me, and even though it's complex, like that's not lost on me, that like it's never who you expected that like was there. And even if it is complicated or it ends, even when relationships end, like I'm really grateful for it. Like I'm really grateful that, not that I had to learn the lesson and had the experience, I'm grateful for that too, because you learn, but like genuinely, like when it was, there are good, nothing is one thing, you know, like it's all complicated.
Exactly.
And I think just letting go of like what I thought last night was going to be, that I thought today was going to, and this is not easy for me. Like it's the holding on to things that hurts us. I think it's like the allowing it to just the day to be a certain way.
You know how we were talking about Substack earlier and how you cut that thing and you lost it? So I wrote a whole Substack thing on my phone and it just disappeared.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But the title of it was "You're Not Supposed to Know." Meaning
you weren't supposed to write. That's wild. All ones to get deleted.
Oh, God, yeah, I know.
That is the cosmic joke.
Seriously. But it was about like, you don't need to know what's going to happen next or what tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? We try to like plan these things out, but it never ends up how you think.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
You can, your mind can try to project and like to think of what it wants to do.
It's a waste.
It never works out that way.
Okay, here's an interesting question for you then. From an Abraham perspective, right? Like they're constantly saying, have some clarity, like have a destination, put something in your GPS so you just start going and then you'll be rerouted. And like Voltaire says, God punishes the vague wish but rewards the specific ask. You know, like having that specificity or having like, I kind of believe in that because I had that when I was younger. I had a different sort of ambition. I knew I wanted to move to New York so bad. That's all I wanted. I knew at the time I really wanted to write a book. I knew I wanted this person to write the foreword. I knew that, and then it kind of stopped there. And I don't have a real vision for what I want my 30s and 40s to look like. Mm-hmm. And because of, I believe what you just said of like, I believe I just want it to unfold, and that's gotten me pretty far.
Exactly.
But I also feel stagnant in some ways, and I'm kind of like, maybe I need to put something in my GPS and be fine with it changing, but like, how important is that clarity?
Well, yeah, I think that does make sense. It's like you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
Like you have to have some sort of like
destination.
Yeah, but there's also this like, there's a lot of power in letting go too. Because again, if you're like holding on to this idea of something, you might miss something else along the way. And yeah, I guess that's what I'm practicing. It's like being fully present and not, okay, this was a quote that was in my Substack and I'm going to try to say it now, but it was like, the unwise man will falter if he's thinking about the past or the future. Mm-hmm. So if like today or right now I'm thinking about past stuff or what I have to do tomorrow, it's going to throw off my day to day.
Yes.
So I think there is power in being in the now.
Flexibility.
Exactly.
And that I had the lesson of that this week was like just comical. Like, and I, you know, we talk all the time, and like this week when you were just like catching up and you asked me how I was doing, I was like, honestly, I'm fine, but it's been a weird week, and not even weird in the sense of bad, neutral weird, just neutral weird, like unexpected. Like usually when someone cancels, I'm never upset. I'm very good at spending time alone. I can like, I probably needed more time. It's no problem. Even if I was looking forward to it, as long as you're not attached to it and you're like, if it doesn't happen now, it won't ever happen. Like if you ever cancel, it's like, oh, it's no problem. Even though I was excited to see you, I'll do something else. And then I'll see you. I'd rather see you at a time that's better for you. You know, I don't want you to like come. We want people to take care of themselves. And it's very unattractive if someone comes and they're like, and I've been there, like frantic and like, but I said I'd be here and I brought the cake and I'm like sweaty, you know? Just like don't come and then come at a time, you know? But if you feel like it's like, it's now or never, then that's the energy that is really doesn't feel good. But I think that I just noticed my patterning this week of like, as soon as it was hard. It was challenging these cancellations this week were challenging because I didn't have the open space because I thought I was going to do something. So it was going back to like I wasn't able to reroute and warm up with myself, where like if I knew I was going to have nothing that day, I would have been able to make progress on my projects and my stuff, but I was kind of just like
anticipating. Yeah.
And so that's the part of it that felt that part was a little bit of a bummer. But as soon as I like, once it like by Wednesday, you know, I was able to be like, yeah, I have that plan tomorrow, but like maybe not, you know? And I came to like rely on that. So I sort of even had in the back of my head what I would do if I didn't, like, and just if it happens, great. And I think if I can go into every plan like that, there's a little bit less tension of like, it has to happen, because if not, I am okay. And there's this quote that I love, that's those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait and wait without anxiety. And whenever you're a little bit too attached to something, I think about that. Whenever I'm a little bit, this has to happen. It's very good in relationships. It's very good in, I mean, it's just non-attachment. It's letting go of the outcome, and just you're going to miss everything around you if you're like wanting it to be a certain way.
Right. Okay.
We're back.
This is all lopsided. I'm on my recording on my phone because my camera just died.
We're a bit cold. I have to pee
chilly.
really bad.
I have to pee too.
I think I was saying like, let go of the outcome, and then boom, camera dies.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how it works out. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Check out
watching
Katie's Let It Out podcast. It's amazing. It's so good. She interviews like such wonderful, cool, talented people, and she's such a good interviewer. So this was so nice.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad we did this.
This was so fun. We did one of these live on Halloween many years ago.
If anyone caught that, when was that? Last year?
No, like a couple years ago. Yeah.
Oh
but maybe we'll do more. Let us know what you think. we'll take questions.
Yeah.
You should come back on Let It Out too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
anytime.